or something strange like that. The word called here doesn't carry that kind of meaning. Like, we really were all along children of God. We just sort of called that, and so God comes along and He creates names for us. Wrong. This word called here, He called us children of God, means He made us children of God. He called us into being as children of God. And you can see that in the last phrase there. Called children of God, and so we are, because He called us that. We are because He called us that. His call makes us children. This is new birth. So now we have the bridge, the link forged a little more clearly there. He made us alive was owing to magnificent love. And here, He called us to be children, made us to be children, gave us the life of the divine life in us. And that was owing to what great love He has. Observation number 2. This new birth into the family of God is owing to the greatness of the love of God. I said it already, just making it a separate observation. Ephesians 2:4. Because of the great love with which He loved us, He made us alive. Here, look what kind of love the Father has given us that we should be called the children of God. Made alive, born again, now children of God, instead of dead and under His wrath. Number 3, observation number 3. This event of God's love moving into our lives and sovereignly calling us into being as children of God, that is, making us alive, raising us from the dead spiritually, and causing the new birth, that event, according to this text, secures that we will one day be perfected into the likeness of Jesus. Now let's see that here. Verse 2 connects the love of God and our present life as His children with the future like this. Beloved, those loved by God in this way, beloved, we are God's children now. You don't have to wait for this. You don't have to wait for the judgment day to see if you're a child of God, like some religions teach. We know we are children of God now. What we will be has not yet appeared. In other words, you don't look at anybody that looks like a child of God. We get sick, we die, we get upset with each other. Good night. There is nobody on the planet who looks very much like a child of God. And so we're incognito, walking around dressing just like the world does, you know. It does not yet appear what we shall be. But we know, now there's the phrase I'm going to underline. We know when He appears, we will be like Him. Because we'll see Him as He is. And evidently, when you see Him, in the twinkling of an eye, replica. But now look at the logic here. We are God's children now. We don't yet see, hasn't appeared yet, the fullness of the beauty of what that's going to mean when the whole creation bows down to us. But we know. Now there's the link. Love of God, behold what kind, incomprehensible love of God coming to dead enemies, quickens us and calls us into being His children, so that we know we are the children of God, we are the children of God, and now we know something else about the future. Namely, when He comes, we're going to be like Him. None of this question mark, oh, I wonder if we'll make it at the last day, I wonder if I'm in the 144,000 or something weird like that. We're going to make this thing because we know who we are right now. I'll come to that testimony business inside in a few minutes. So my third observation is this issue of what the new birth secures for us in the future, namely that we will be like Him someday, was secured by the love of God, causing us to be born again, know we are now the children of God, and that we will one day be like Him. This is all a golden chain of absolute, rock-solid, divine certitude worked for us and in us. Observation number 4 simply makes explicit, I think, what I've already drawn out. The new birth, therefore, is a necessary prerequisite and guarantee of the future perfection that we will have in the presence of Christ someday. Jesus said it this way, "Truly, truly, I say to you, unless you are born again, you will not see the kingdom of heaven." And I'm simply putting that in a positive way. Namely, if you are born again, you will see it. If you are born again, you'll see Him when He appears, and in the twinkling of an eye at the last trumpet, you will be changed. And this mortal will put on immortality, and this perishable will put on the imperishable, and we shall be changed and forever without sin, and have glorified bodies perfectly suited to live with a glorified Savior. All of that follows from the new birth. And if you don't have the new birth, you may not get that. That is, you will not get that. So now the question I ask, what's that got to do with Jesus' birth? What does the new birth and all of its effects have to do with Jesus being born? Being a man walking in history 2,000 years ago, He would have had a social security number if He were here today. Probably would have had an email account. Would have used the internet sparingly, with incredible care in order to remain sinless all His life. What's the relationship between that event, that historical incarnation of the eternal, divine Son of God, second person of the Trinity, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld His glory, glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth? What's that got to do with my new birth? My being a child of God? My anticipating with great certainty that I'll see Him someday and be like Him. No more sin. Couldn't God simply have done the new birth without the incarnation? Just cause sinners to be born again. Quicken them. Give them life. Help them battle sin. Shape them into better people. And when Jesus comes, do it totally. Forget this incarnation and all this bloody cross. What in the world? Why is that part of the picture of the new birth thing? Did there need to be an incarnation of the Son of God, perfect obedience, death on a cross, in order for me to be born again? And the answer is the new birth and all of its effects, including faith, justification, purification, final conformity to Christ, would have been impossible without the incarnation. Totally impossible without the incarnation. I want to spend the rest of this message on why that is. And I hope you get a glimpse of your Savior, so that during this final Advent days, you will love Him more.